Good morning, students. Today we are going to discuss about 8th Standard Social Science, History, Unit 3, Rural Life and Society. That is the heading of this lesson, Rural Life and Society. So, first one, learning objectives. To know the land revenue policy under the British rule. Second, to understand the merits and demerits of the land revenue policy. Third one, to know the agrarian crisis and revolts. Agrarian means farmers. Okay. Now we are going to come to the introduction. In the pre-colonial period means before the colonial period, Indian economy was predominantly an agrarian economy. Predominantly means based on agrarian economy. Agriculture was then the primary occupation of the people, and even industries like textiles, sugar, oil, etc. were depend on it. So some of the industries were based on the agriculture. The British government in India did not adopt a pro-Indian agriculture and land revenue policy. British government introduced three major land revenue and tenurial system in India, namely the permanent settlement, the Mahalwari system and the Rayadwari system. So these were the three important land revenue settlements introduced by British government in India. The economic exploitation of the peasants means farmers, led to the revolt in future. So some systems was introduced by the British government in India. It made lot of troubles to the Indian farmers. So it leads to the revolt in future. Okay, first one, land revenue policy under the British. Land revenue policy under the British. The types of land revenue policy under British. There are three types. First one, permanent settlement. It was introduced by Lord Cornwallis. Second one, Rayadwari system. That was introduced by Thomas Munro. Third one, Mahalwari system. That was introduced by Lord William Pentic. So these were the three important land revenue policies introduced by the British in India. So first one, we are going to discuss about permanent settlement. First one is permanent settlement. When Robert Clive obtained means got. When Robert Clive obtained the Diwani means collecting tax. Diwani means collecting tax rights. When Robert Clive obtained the Diwani rights of Bengal, Bihar and Odisha in 1765, there used to be an annual settlement of land revenue. Yearly once the peasants settled their taxes to the government. Warren Hastings, another person, changed it from annual to 5 years once. Annual to 5 years once. And back to annual again. That was changed from 1 year to 5 years, and again that was turned into 5 years to 1 year. During the time of Cornwallis, another person, a 10 years settlement was introduced in 1793, and it was known permanent settlements. So first the peasants or farmers paid tax for 1 year. Next 5 years. After that, that was changed into 1 year. Next, that was changed into 10 years. So that was a system introduced by the British people in India. Next, the permanent settlement were made in Bengal, Bihar, Orissa, Varanasi divisions of UP and northern Karnataka, which roughly covered 19% of the total area of the British. So this system was covered totally 19% of the British India. It was known by different names like Jamindari, Jagirdari, Mahaljari and Beswari. So these were the different types of systems was introduced in India. Okay students, already we discussed about two important land revenue systems. One is permanent settlement, second one is Raidwari system. Now we are going to discuss about the Mahalwari system. What is the next Mahalwari system? Salient features of the system, permanent settlement. Salient features of the whole permanent settlement, that is was modified special of the version of the Jamindari settlement introduced in the Jamindars were recognized as modified system owners of the land. They were the owners of the land introduced by as long as they paid the northwest provinces revenue to the English East India Company regularly. 1822. Second in 1822, the Jamindars introduced in the places of agents of the Ganga Valley, northwest provinces, collection of and revenue of central India from the cultivators or the farmers. Lord William Pentic was to what was the main duty of the Jamindars? Suggest collect the radical changes in the third point. Mahalwari the amount of revenue guidance of that the Jamindars had to pay to the company in 1833 was firmly fixed. Assessment of revenue was to be raised made on any basis of that was fixed. Produce of a the tax was or fixed village. Collected that from was the basic calculations. How they fourth one how they calculated and that much level they calculated 10 by 11 of the cultivation that was collected by the of the Mahalwari system to the government. All the they gave 10 by 11 of the revenue collected by the Mahalwari farmers to the government. Severely and jointly responsible for the payment would of grant revenue. Patas. They were the responsible agreement. The village people Rayat means they were the farmers. Responsible for the Mahalwari grant patas to the farmers. Initially, the Rayat state share was tenants fixed since 2/3 of considered grass produce of the soil. Bentic therefore reduced all judicial powers 50% taken away from the that was reduced by they were relieved William from the Pentic judicial that was 50%. That is the salient features of the permanent settlement. Its headman next merits of the permanent settlement was required to pay permanent settlement. The under this system he was a many of the wastelands and headman village headman was in cultivable to collect the tax wastelands and forest became cultivable lands. This system was the Jamindars became the owners of the land and they became the Jamindars became the owners of the land. Later the Jamindars were made free from the responsibility of providing justice. Introduced in Agra. They lived from the Awadh and the later responsibility of providing other parts justice. Of the United Provinces. The Jamindars the burden of faithful to the British taxation. They were faithful to the British cultivators. Fifth point, whatever this system that was introduced by the British government income for the that was totally affected that was a fixed farmers and the stable income that was they were the new affectors. Continue income to the government. That is the merits of the permanent settlement. Next, demerits of the permanent settlement. Next, demerits of the permanent settlement. The British government had no direct contact with the cultivators. British government no direct contact with the cultivators because the Jamindars were the mediators between the government and the cultivators. Next, the rights of the cultivators were ignored, that was denied, and they were left at the mercy of the Jamindars. The rights of the cultivators was denied. Third one, the peasants or the farmers were almost treated as serfs. Serfs means slaves. The peasants or farmers were treated as slaves. This system was made the Jamindars lethargic and luxurious. The system was made the Jamindars lethargic and luxurious. Many conflict between the Jamindars and the peasants arose in rural Bengal. The many conflict, the problem between the Jamindars and the farmers arose in rural Bengal. Next, we are going to discuss about the Raitwari system. Next, Rayatwari system. Rayatwari system was introduced by Thomas Munro and Captain Reed in 1820. In 1820, the Rayatwari system was introduced by two persons, Thomas Munro and Captain Reed. Major areas of introduction of Rayatwari system included Madras, Bombay, parts of Assam and Coorg provinces of British India. So that was introduced in some part of British India. By Rayatwari system, the rights of ownership was handed over to the farmers. The rights of ownership was handed over to the peasants or farmers. British government collected taxes directly from the peasants. There were no mediators between the government and the farmers. Initially, one of the estimate produce was fixed as the rent. First, half of the production that was fixed as the rent. After that, this assessment was reduced 1/3 of the produce by the Thomas Munro. It was reduced by Thomas Munro. The revenue was based on the basis of the soil and the nature of the crop. The revenue was basis on the two things. One is soil and other one is nature of crops. Okay. Next, rents would be periodically revised. That was changed generally after 20 to 30 years. Generally after 20 to 30 years, the rent was changed. The position of the cultivators became more secure. The position of the cultivators was more safe. In this system, the settlement was made between the government and the ryots. In fact, the government later claimed that the land revenue was rent and not a tax. The government claimed that land revenue was rent, not a tax. Okay. Next, salient features of the Rayatwari system. Salient features of the Rayatwari system. Rayatwari system, the revenue settlement was done directly with the ryots. There were no mediators. Measurement of field and an estimate of produce was calculated. Measurement of field. Field means the area of the cultivation and the produce of calculated. Third one, government fixed the demand at 45 to 55% of the produce. Government fixed the demand at 45 to 55% of the produce. The producers or the farmers, they must paid 45 to 55% to the government. Next, effects of the Rayatwari system. Effects of the Rayatwari system. In most areas, the land revenue fixed was excessive. The ryots were hardly left with maintenance even in the best of season. That was fixed. Revenue was fixed. That was high. The farmers, they could not pay the tax to the government in certain best of seasons. Under this system, the government exploited the farmers instead of jamindars. The government exploited the farmers instead of jamindar. So these were the effects of the Rayatwari system. Now we are going to discuss about salient features of the Maghalwari settlement. Okay. First point. The Lambadar, that means the head of the village, acted as intermediaries between the government and the villagers. He was a bridge between government and the villagers. It was a village-wise assessment. One person could hold a number of villages. One person could hold a number of villages. Third point, the village community was the owner of the village common land. They were the owners. Village community were the owners. Fourth point, the village land belonged to the village community. The land belonged to the village community. So these are the salient features of Maghalwari system. Next, effects of the Maghalwari system. Effects of the Maghalwari system. The Lambader means the leader of the village, head of the village. Lambader enjoyed privileges which was misused for their self-interest. Their rights, the head of the village, their rights was misused by them. Second one, this system brought no benefit to the cultivators. The system was no benefit to the cultivators. Third one, it was a modified version of the Jamindari system and benefited the upper class in villages. That was totally no benefits to the cultivators. That was totally benefits to the upper class in the villages. Okay, now we are going to discuss about the revolts of the peasants or peasants revolt. Why it was happened? What was the basic or root cause for that? That means the activities of the Britishers, Jamindars and high class people, as well as the introduction of the policies of the British, that was the root cause for the peasants revolt. Okay, now we are going to discuss. The British rule in India brought about many changes. A lot of changes was practiced during the time of British rule in the field of agrarian system in the country, cultivation system. That was totally changed by the British. The old agrarian system collapsed, and under the new system, the ownership of land was conferred on the Jamindars. They were the owners of the land. Jamindars were the owners of the land. They tried to extract as much as they could from the cultivators of land. The life of the peasants was extremely miserable. Miserable means it's too much of pain. The various peasants' movements and uprising during the 19th and 20th century were in the nature of the protest against the existing condition under which their exploitation knew no limits. Listen carefully, students. The farmers or the cultivators, they were very much affected by the activities of Jamindars, Britishers and some of the higher class people. So that made the revolt against the British government in India. So first one, the Sandal Rebellion in 1855 to 56, the Sandal Rebellion. The first revolt, it was a first revolt. The first revolt which can be regarded as peasants revolt was the Sandal Rebellion in 1855 to 56. The land near the hills of Rajmahal in Bihar, that was a location, was cultivated by the Sandals. The landlords and moneylenders from the cities took advantages of their ignorance and began grabbing their lands. The higher class people very much utilized the ignorance of the Sandal people. That was a drawback to the Sandals. This created bitter resentment among them, leading to their armed uprising in 1855. That was started in 1855. Consequently, under the belief of a divine order, around 10,000 Sandals gathered under two Sandal brothers, Sindhu and Kanhu, to free their country of the foreign oppressors and set up a new government of their own. They want to make a new government against the British, and they want to free from the foreign domination. The rebellion assumed a formidable shape within a month. That was strong within a month. The houses of the European planters, British officers, railway engineers, zamindars and moneylenders were attacked. The rebellion continued till February 1856. It was started in 1855 and the rebellion continued till February 1856, when the rebel leaders were captured or arrested. The leaders were arrested and the movement was put down with the heavy hand. The movement was totally suppressed. The leaders were arrested. The movement was suppressed. The government declared the Parganas inhabited by them as Sandal Parganas, so that their lands and identity could be safeguarded from external encroachment. Next, students, impact of the British land revenue system on the cultivators. Impact of the British land revenue system on the cultivators. Okay, first point. A common features of all the settlements was the assessment and the maximize income from the land. So all the incomes they received from the land. It resulted in increasing land sales and dispositions. Second point, the peasants or the farmers were overburdened with taxation. That was a main problem to the cultivators. That means over taxation due to the tax burden and famine. In general, the people suffered in poverty and burdened with debts. So these were the important causes. What are that? First one, tax burden, famine, poverty and debts. These were the important causes. They had to seek the money lenders who became rich and acquire lands from the peasants. So the farmers to seek the money lenders who became rich and acquire lands from the farmers. Next point, the zamindars, money lenders and lawyers exploited the poor peasants. The higher class people very much exploited the poor peasants or farmers. The stability and continuity of Indian villages was shaken. So this situations created or made the shakens in the villages. Cottage industries disappeared on account of the import of British goods, and the peasants or farmers had nothing to supplement their income. The arrival of the British goods in India, the cottage industries or the native industries were disappeared. The old body of the customs was replaced by new laws, courts, fees, lawyers and formal procedures. The new system was totally changed the old systems or old customs. Fifth one, the British policy proved advantageous only to the government. That was only advantageous to the government of the privileged section of the society at the cost of the cultivators who were the rightful owners of their land and claimants of the large share of the producers. Totally, the cultivators or the farmers, they received nothing from the cultivation. The higher class people and the government only privileged in the fields of cultivation. Okay. The government declared the Parganas inhabited by them and Sandals Parganas, so that their land and identity could be safeguarded from external encroachment. Okay, so today the lesson is over. Remaining topic we will discuss in the next class. Okay, thank you students.